I was 11, my grandma had a friend from work who always gave me weird vibes. He would show up to the house right after grandma and him got off work. Now, he lives in a different city than me, so he would have to make 2 trips to go home. When he showed up, he would watch grandma sleep for like 5 minutes before waking her up. The reason I would let him in is because my grandma, half asleep, would just say, "Let him in," and she would fall back asleep again. My grandma would leave the bathroom door open when she changed her clothes out of her uniform, because I would be in my room when she got home, or on the couch watching TV. So sometimes my grandma's friend, who would come in and go to the bathroom, he was weird. The main event happened when I had my family out of state coming to my hometown, but they were staying at my Aunt Linda's house. My Aunt Candace, out of state, wanted to go fishing with my grandma, so that meant that I was home alone, because they left early in the morning and I didn't feel like getting up to go fishing, mainly because I hate fish. So at about 12:30, my grandma's friend shows up and doesn't leave when my grandma's car is gone. So then I just think he's being weird, and he'll leave. I was sitting on the couch watching TV. Then I heard a loud bang. I live next to the highway, so I thought nothing of it. But then it happened again. I see my dogs run to the laundry room, which leads to the basement and back door. I go outside to see what's happening, and I see the back door that's supposed to be nailed shut was wide open. Being a child, I started to run to the front yard. Then I see that my grandma's friend isn't in his car. I then call my cousin, and she and her kid, who is also my cousin, come over. They jump out of their car and run to the backyard. Now, it is important to know that my cousin, who is an adult, worked with my grandma. So when she goes to the backyard, she sees him just casually walking out of my house. She says, "George, why are you here?" He looks startled to see her. Then he says, "Oh, I just have to use the bathroom," which made no sense because of the other excuses he had used. Then my cousin followed my grandma's friend to his car. We looked at what he did. He took off the nails that had nailed the door shut, and he burst through the bottom panel to the second door open. I assumed that was the loud bang that I heard. Then he went up the stairs to go to the laundry room door. He tried to bust it down, so I think the second loud bang was that. When he was leaving, he was giving up or going to his car to get something to make it easier. So then I decided to call my grandma, and she went to my Aunt Linda's house, which is where I went after he broke into the house. She stopped being friends with him and never spoke to him again after this. My theories are the following. 1. He heard that I had family out of state and thought that I was with grandma, so he thought no one would be home. 2. He broke in to steal pills from my grandma. 3. Because of the weird things he did, like watching my grandma sleep, I think he was trying to steal her used bra or panties. That's my story. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay safe. Also, stop being friends with someone if your kid says they watch you while you sleep. I'm still pretty jarred from this experience, but I figured it would be easier to share about it than keep dwelling on this. A couple of days ago, someone broke into my house while I was asleep. I work night shift, so sleeping during the day is something you kind of learn to get used to. Around 6:30 p.m., I heard what I thought was a loud knocking sound coming from outside of my house, and my dogs were going absolutely ballistic. For reference, I live on a farm out in the middle of nowhere, about an hour from Kansas City. My closest neighbor is about half a mile away down a gravel road in the opposite direction. But back to the story. I somewhat wake up, but don't really think anything of it since my neighbors like to shoot their guns during the day while I'm trying to sleep, and the story was during hunting season. As I started falling back asleep, my heart started fluttering weird, like I knew something wasn't right. That's when I heard loud footsteps throughout the house. I was staying at my parents' house sitting, as my brother is undergoing cancer treatments across the state. The dogs are still barking, but now start to get quiet. That's when I really began to worry. When I think my dogs would protect me in a time like this, fat chance. Of course, my dogs would make friends with a home invader. Thanks, guys. The footsteps stop on the other side of my bedroom door and don't move. I think this is how I'm going to die. And although I had a weapon in my room, I knew I couldn't get it without being heard. It felt like an eternity before the steps moved away, around and towards my brother's bedroom. Rustling can be heard loudly through the house, and things being thrown. I knew they were in my brother's room. Some of his friends are in seedy situations, and I knew it had to be one of them. I heard footsteps coming back to my door, and the doorknob handle moved. I immediately turned my back towards the door and closed my eyes tight, a hand over my mouth to stop from screaming. The door opens, but that's it. Then he leaves as a car drives down the road. I finally managed to bring myself to get out of bed. Everything in the house except for my brother's room was undisturbed. Nothing seemed out of place, but there are muddy footprints on the hardwood floors. I immediately called my brother and asked if any of his friends were coming over. He said not that he knew of, and I told him what happened. He got off the phone with me and started calling around. I went back to bed and noticed that I still had my window cracked open from earlier, and I realized that my sheets were off of me, and I was only wearing a big t-shirt in bed. If it is who I think it was, this wasn't a random event. One of my brother's friends has always had his eyes on me, and the fact that he saw me sleeping in just a t-shirt makes me freak out. Whether or not he took something out of my brother's room, or knew that I was home alone sleeping before having to work later that night, I don't know. I'll post an update when I hear from my brother. You move out to the country to get away from all of the activity of the city life and let your guard down. That's when something like this happens. Sometimes country life isn't so safe after all. Update. Sorry y'all for a late update. It's been a crazy week, but thank you for bearing with me. My brother got back to me with some news I absolutely dreaded hearing. None of his friends said or claimed to have been at the house at the time of this incident, so now I'm even more afraid of who was at my home and what their intentions were. They could have been scoping out my house during the day, now that my county has decided to extend the gravel on my road that connects to the farming community I live near. I knew I should have gone with my first instinct and called the sheriff. Next time, I'll listen to my gut. It's never steered me in the wrong direction. I just hope I don't have another visit like this anytime soon. But if there is a next time, I'll be sure to be ready for them. Alright, let me set up the backstory first. The story takes place about 10 years ago, in 2008 or 2009 school year, and I was in the 7th grade. My family had moved to Indiana, into this newly built complex of houses. It was my mother, my 4 siblings, and I. Anyway, to the story. One day during the week, I was sick and I had to be picked up from school early. So, I was just laying in my room while my mom cleaned up around the house. When it came time to pick up my youngest brother up from preschool, my mom asked if I wanted to go with her, and I refused, not feeling up to the task. My mother shrugged and headed out, leaving me alone. As a child, I always loved to write short stories, And this is what I was doing while TV played in the background when I first heard it. It had been about half an hour since my mom left when I heard squeaking sounds coming from my brother's room next door. I hadn't heard anyone come inside, so I was kind of confused. I heard it again. It sounded like someone was bouncing on the bed. However, my two brothers that shared that room had a bunk bed. I got up and groaned, sliding down the hall to their bedroom. The door was open, and of course, nobody was there. I went back to my room to lay in bed for about 10 minutes before I heard the cupboard door slam in the kitchen. I hopped up and rushed in to see a single bag of Doritos lying almost perfectly in the center of the kitchen. This is when I got an unexplainable bad feeling, and I went outside. Even then, I was uncomfortable. I had to cross the street and sit on the curb until two of my siblings got off of the school bus before I could handle going back inside. This was not the only experience that I had in the house. Once my brother, mother, and I were up late watching TV, and for some reason, it kept turning down the volume to 0. And another time, I got up in the middle of the night just to go pee, and when returning to the room that I shared with one of my brothers, I saw a small female form at the foot of his bed, and I jumped from my bed to his to grab him, and the figure disappeared, as well as having many nightmares while we were there. I feel like some of these things can be explained away as a child's imagination, but they still make me feel uncomfortable to this day. Luckily, we didn't live there long. What do you guys think? Like I said, the house was newly built, and we were the first tenants of this particular house. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you would like to see more, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. We're doing nothing but growing. I've got a lot of content, a lot more coming, so just know that. And also, if you haven't yet, make sure to check out the channel members section. I just posted a new video on there. So, there's that. If you would like to submit a story, make sure to send it to my Gmail. And also check out the other links in the description as well, like my Twitter and Instagram, stuff like that. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. You know, at this point, you probably just shouldn't be alone at home if you're like under the age of